My name is Christine, and I am one of the organizers of this event. Great to have you guys. If I will introduce Africa iShare to begin with, we are trying to have people from different African countries engaging and speaking to each other and having them sharing ideas. And also, the other thing we're trying to do, Africa iShare, is to have like-minded people within the African continent connected to each other and having discussions. So we are starting off with mainly this round of discussion, which has to do with entrepreneurship and especially on technology side. And then we will move on to other discussions that we'll be having every week on Wednesday. So the idea is to have as many people from different African countries engaged in this forum. And like in the coming week, we will have the similar kind of discussion on entrepreneurship. So to begin with, if I could go with Tohib, if you could tell us a bit about what kind of tech business you run, a brief introduction of Nigeria and the Nigerian space on technology, that will get us started.
What we basically do is connect the Nigerians in diaspora and working professionals in Nigeria advance here to benefit them position effectively into agriculture and sustainable income and empowering youth and smallholder farmers. Now, it's a huge opportunity for youth who are going into entrepreneurship in Nigeria to ensure that their solution is digital inclined, because in sub-Saharan Africa today we've seen the cost of internet go down a little bit below 30%, and this is ensuring that there's an enabling environment for tech businesses to thrive. And also with the advent of these mobile phone companies who are ensuring that they are bringing the cost of mobile phone to a more affordable and reasonable cost, so that more people can afford this. It's giving opportunities for those for entrepreneurs who are looking to go into any sphere of business to ensure that they are able to use digital solutions to reach out to further people who can currently afford the mobile phones. Now, it's a beautiful environment here in Nigeria, because we have a more friendly environment now, because I took part in the payback program that held in 2019 with the federal government, that moved Nigeria up the place, 31st up to 31 place in the ease of doing business, where we work with private sector, MDAs, and government agencies to listen, to track, and implement solutions that is going to create a business enabling environment for entrepreneurs, for the populace as a whole, and for investors in Nigeria. And so with this, we've been able to achieve that. We've been able to achieve world movement in the world ranking of ease of doing business by 31 place in the world today. So it's a beautiful environment for any African country, for any investor of the business, and for other African countries who want to scale up their solutions into Nigeria. So it's an enabling environment at this moment. Thank you.
Are you among like the top people who are doing agri-tech kind of thing, or do you have many competitors? Tell us a bit more about that. Like, what's the agri-tech like for you guys?
Yes, thank you very much. We have different competitors in Nigeria currently, because we've seen many agri-tech companies spring up in the last couple of years, and this is because there's a huge demand for more solutions that ensure that working professionals can diversify their income stream. And this has affected a lot of agribusiness or agri-tech companies, and we are among the first, the 1 to 10 agri-tech companies in Nigeria currently. And the solution that we provide is unique and distinct, because it gives people options to either invest or own the farm, and compared to other people who are just investing, who are just coming in to invest in the farm. Agri-tech scenario in Nigeria currently is quite robust, and we still need more of these solutions to ensure that users are able to iterate and transition effectively into agriculture. And many of these agri-tech startups are currently facing some constraints in different aspects of their business model, and we've seen that currently regarding the business model that we are running, the SEC, that is the Security Exchange Commission, is coming in to regulate it after the pandemic currently. So they will see a lot of agri-tech companies also partner with each other and also merge and also collaborate together to be able to comply with the Security Exchange Commission's policies. So I think the space is a little bit wide, and we've seen more agri-tech companies spring up, and I think there's still more room for collaboration with agri-tech companies moving forward.
That's quite interesting, especially because you provide quite a unique solution from what you're saying. And it sounds like what you're saying is that people are keen on trying out new products, like if it's in the agri-tech side, people are actually keen on trying out new ideas of new innovations that are coming up. So let me hear from Evans from a Kenyan perspective. Evans, if you could tell us how do you find it from a Kenyan perspective?
This is Evans Diana from Nairobi. I run a company called Abana Labs, which is a software company that is predominantly skewed towards machine learning and artificial intelligence products. The main focus has been on using computer vision to do some sort of prediction and also classification tasks. So the first two areas of research that we've looked at, the first one was in terms of malaria diagnosis. We know that malaria is still a challenge in most parts of Africa and also some parts of the third world countries. So, because of the high mortality and also morbidity due to malaria, it gives us a good opportunity to try and solve some of these problems. We find that some of rural areas and even some hospitals in urban areas do not have enough personnel or machinery just to do malaria diagnosis. So they rely on clinical symptoms, things like how hot are you feeling? Do you have a fever? Do you have X and X symptoms? But that is not very accurate. So we hope that by doing digital microscopy, but then using computer technology, AI, like machine learning models, they are able to do classifications of the malaria parasites without the need for a lab assistant. And it's not really replacing lab assistants and people who do all these diagnoses. It's augmenting their work. But in areas where they're not there, it might mean the difference between a life that is saved due to a good diagnosis or not. So that is one of the products that we're looking at. We're also working towards plant diagnostics also, where you can look at plant leaves and roots or even just all parts of the plants and simple taking of a picture of the part of the plant, you can get a diagnosis of probably the disease or infection that your plant is suffering from. So that is in brief, that is the two projects that we are currently working on.
Evans, you can go on.
The landscape in Kenya, I think it's barren. There's a lot of uptake in consumer technology, I would say. But some of the things that we're doing are very, I would say, government oriented or government. It's government regulated. Things like healthcare. It's very highly regulated. We have had some help working with lecturers. I have some contacts at the University of Nairobi. I've also been able to do some work with some folks in Zanzibar by doing malaria elimination there. So that is where I'm actually getting my data from. Trying to get to the health space is not a very easy task. You really need people who are on board. The issues around patient information, the issues around confidentiality of data, and just medical records. It's not an easy task to get this. So working with Zanzibari Ministry of Health was like a good tumbling. And it was something we stumbled upon, which was great. In Kenya, I would say that this other like the tech space would work well, especially for the more consumer-facing applications and technologies, more than probably things that are heavily regulated, like biotech or healthcare.
Okay, that's quite interesting to know. But if I could go back to Nigeria and maybe hear a bit more about, other than agri-tech, like Tohib, other than what you're engaged in the agri-tech kind of thing, what's the general market like on the technology side? Are there like more innovations that are picking up quickly now and in all sectors, agri-tech, health, communication, innovations of all kinds? Is it that kind of environment, or is there any sector that is better than another sector, or what does it look like?
For Nigeria, technology has been an enabler for businesses. There are other technological use cases in different sectors, such as logistics, communication, and healthcare, and the constraints when it has to do with data for those in the healthcare space. Also the same problem we are facing here. I have a colleague in Nigeria that is developing a central system that can enable people to for government and other private healthcare their institutions to transition from hard copy data to digital data for their patients, whereby you just enter a few numbers and you have your medical history from anywhere you are in Nigeria. There has been a lot of constraints in that regard because partnering with the government in this regard is going to be key because they are much more regulating the healthcare space like they do in Kenya as well. So it's been a constraint in that regard. And also we have other solutions in logistics. We have Kobo 360, we have smart solutions that is developing an IoT solution to ensure that logistics companies are effectively utilized. So you can track any logistics truck from anywhere and know if it's carrying a goods or it's empty, and you can use that information to access that logistics. Know if you can use the logistics or you cannot because it's carrying a good or it's not. So we have different solutions and different use cases in different sectors. It's not only the agri-tech sector, but one thing is key. It has to do with a lot of collaboration with the government and private sector. That is one of the reasons why we had the PEBEC program, which has to do with implementing, listening, implementing, and tracking. And we've seen that the government are also willing now to listen to those in the private sector and understand the problems that we are facing in the private sector, provide enough solutions for us to ensure a smooth transition with the public-private partnerships. We've seen them now also embracing technology as a means of carrying out their duties, and this is eradicating the bureaucratic process in the government agencies. We've seen that in the past couple of months, from 2019, the late 2019, last quarter of 2019, we've seen that the government has rolled out a means at which you can register your business easily from your mobile device and also get your tax identification number from your mobile device. So small businesses and small startups can just start their businesses even from their home and cut a lot of bureaucratic process cost of registering their business. We've also seen different solutions come up in different MDAs whereby you can also report solutions. You can also report problems you are facing in any MDA you have in Nigeria just by downloading a report.gov.ng. You can report directly to the government and to the reporting officer, and they can help you solve your problem regarding any documentation you are facing. So it's a lot of bureaucratic that they've got, and we still hope that there's more solution that is coming up so that we can improve the private-public partnership. So that technology solutions, more technological solutions can come on board, and we can develop the technological sector in Nigeria.
A foreigner who wants to, for instance, start a business in Nigeria, can they just easily from anywhere in the world just access the platform and apply, get the registration done and to get the tax registration done without much bureaucracy, or is it just very domestic?
Not very domestic. I think foreigners can access this solution, but the requirements might be different, and they might need some documents some supporting documents that foreigners will need to ensure that they're able to register the business effectively.
Okay.
Like one of the documents that you might require is maybe your bank account, maybe a Nigerian bank account, which I'm sure a foreigner will not have access to in a foreign land unless they come down to Nigeria here. So I think it's quite easy for foreigners to also access the platform, but they have to the requirements are quite different. And not only that, you can also file for your returns, your tax returns as an organization. You can also file for your tax returns on your mobile phone because you have to access the platform on your mobile phone. This gives room to cut off bureaucratic process. Before now, startups don't have access to this. Tax official just comes to your office and he tells you that this is what you're going to pay without having the necessary document. Just gives you a bill and this is what you're going to pay. You have no plan to pay. But right now, all this can be tracked via the platform, and you can know what you have to pay and when to pay, so someone doesn't come to you and exploit you. This provides an enabling environment for startups and tech startups to thrive and for new innovative startups and creative startups to come up along the line. And if you look at the use cases that we have in Nigeria, we have different use cases in Nigeria ranging from communication to logistics and other segments. There are still a lot of loopholes that needs to be filled, and we need a lot of great startups also come and fill that space. And I believe it's going to be a collaborative effort between Nigerian startups and even some other startups in sub-Saharan Africa to collaborate together to solve some of these problems that we are facing in Nigeria currently. Because we have a youth population, we are very creative, and they are open to new things and exploring new solutions. Yeah.
Well, that sounds interesting because it sounds like the absorption of any tech product or most tech products in the market sounds quite good. Evans, if I may just maybe get from a Kenyan perspective, would you compare it the same way, like the absorption rate of like these products in the market? I mean, all technology products, would you think that it's similar to Nigeria?
What I have is not actually a lot of data, but I have anecdata. So these are a lot of anecdotes that I've gotten here and there. I have a couple of friends also who have done like startups or were doing bootstrapping their businesses as they probably juggle with other jobs and all that. And one of the challenges that they have faced is people tend to look up to like technology from outside Kenya or Africa, like having a European or an American, like an African quote company seems to be a better sell to most people than probably just a small bootstrapped or founded company. That also plays in the sense that for most of the big apps that we have here or the big platforms are either run by foreign companies or companies in Kenya which have a lot of capital. And that really skews it for indie developers or people who are just starting out, because then people need authenticity, and usually people correlate being quote unquote a wealthy, a corporate with authenticity, something that they can trust. So it really needs a lot of nudging from either people who are influential, promoting your product or using it. I think that is what has done it for some. There's a friend of mine who was in the delivery space using motorbikes, so delivering packages to offices, homes, and all that. And it took him quite a long time just even to break even.
Okay.
But then Uber came and ate his lunch. So that is how he had to close his company.
Okay.
So he came way before Uber, but now people didn't trust his platform.
The technology solutions, like your friend, like the technology solutions that are within Kenya or within Africa, they literally can't compete with international solutions that just come like Uber or maybe Airbnb, but maybe you find like a local company doing the same kind of thing, tech business doing the same kind of thing, may not compete.
The competitive advantage of any small business or just a business that is starting up is the fact that you're small and you can do things that big companies can't do. You can try things that the big companies would be afraid to try because their reputation is on the line for that. They can fail. Just a small mishap on Twitter or on Facebook or on social media can really mess their brand. But as a small company, you can try many things. The chances of you having a lot of negative repercussions from your actions is not to the same scale as a big company. So that's one. The fact that you're small is good enough. Number two, the fact that you're small
might also help you stay nimble in the sense that you can make changes to your product very, very quickly without a lot of bureaucracy that dogs most big companies. So that's a competitive advantage that people don't usually see.
Okay.
You don't have layers and layers of management and legal personnel to ratify an idea or something. You can just build it and ship it, and your consumers will validate.
Okay.
Another thing that I would say that would be a very big competitive advantage for small businesses is customer service. Customer service is one of the things that I think would help most small businesses to really grow. Most big companies lack that personal touch in terms of customer service. Either they are rude or they don't answer. You might email, you might call, they don't answer. Or even if they answer, you stay long on the line.
Okay.
So if you're a person who wants personalized service, a small company or a small business would probably be much more likely to offer you that kind of service.
Okay.
That is one thing that I think would help the small businesses. Just being incredibly passionate about your customers, listening to them, working with them, and being the fact that you're small. If your customers tell you, we want this change in your product, you can fix it in a night, you can do it in 2 days, as soon as possible. But for a big company, it has to go through layers and layers of management. Small then becomes a serious advantage for you.
Tohib, in the Nigerian market, is there any chance of like a small technology company being able to compete with someone like Uber or Airbnb? Or is the Nigerian market more pro domestic solutions to international solutions? Or is a local person likely to lose out to the big players who are international?
Like they say in business, cash is king. The person who has the cash and the right strategy is going to win in the market. It's quite similar to what my co-panelists have said. Quite very similar. Lots of companies has eaten up by Uber and the advent of Taxi or Bolt. If it's the example of Hope that came into Nigeria some years back, a transportation company, GoCarda, that has been in Nigeria prior to the advent of Hope. And in fact, they even raised seed fund of $1 million support their to scale their solution. The moment a Chinese company came into play and they raised about $50 million, they took over the whole market and they are just maintaining a little chunk of what is left of the market that they are supposed to have access to, or they're supposed to maybe monopolize in a sense. This is telling you that in every African or Sub-Saharan African economy, it has always been the behavioral practice or mentality of the consumers that to trust foreign companies ahead of local or domestic companies. And this is because they think they've associated the trust factor to other companies who are foreign companies, and they believe they are going to deliver value for their money. And I also think it also has to do with the mindset and behavioral patterns of small startups in African ecosystem, and for them to put their brand before any other thing. Some startups put their revenue before their customers. So it's a lot of difficult situation when it comes to that. For you, as for startups in Nigeria, one thing we discovered is that many startups think their solution is the ultimate, and they forget to understand that any tech solution is just an enabler to any service, and they should always be customer centric and iterate their product to meet the customer's demand. And like my co-panelists have said, it's quite easy for small startups to iterate and to meet the customer's demand compared to the big companies who are out there. But what consumers used to associate themselves with is the brand. Like they've seen a couple of times, they trust this brand, and it's quite difficult for a smaller brand to come and overtake that or come and overshadow that. I've been faced experience like this. Even in my office 2 years back, a customer came to our office and came to inquire about our service. Question he asked was, who is the big name backing you guys? Like, yeah, we are a startup and it's necessary for us to build our brand trust. But he asked the question, who is the big name backing you guys? Because he wants to know the trust factor or the extent at which he can trust our brand. Had links and we have partnerships with different organizations and different other big companies that supplies our input. We mentioned those companies that we've worked with, that we've had actions with, and it was quite convenient. These are the situations of consumer behavior that we are seeing in real life situations. So if we had no big names in regards to that, we might have actually lost the user in that regard. So, and it might cost us about 10 or 15 more users, because we all know that referral is a big deal when it comes to products and services. So this is the ecosystem for Nigeria as well. It's not far fetched from what my co-panelists have said. Some things that we as startups can put in place to ensure that we are able to put ourselves in a very better situation and to be able to compete with these other big startups. And I think collaboration is key to doing that. We should collaborate between ourselves. I for one, I have mentality of collaborating with smaller startups as well to help each other grow. However, this has not come with its own. This also come with its own challenges, because they are also trying out. They are also testing out some products. They are also trying out what will work, what wouldn't work, and they're also trying to meet their own customers' demand. So there might be a little bit of issue here and there. Like in the last quarter of 2019, we partnered with a small startup to provide water solution on our farm. And at the end of the day, they were not able to do the project effectively. They were not able to carry out the project effectively. Even when we had the option of partnering some people better, but we thought that, okay, for us to ensure that we are able to help each other grow, we partner with the startup. And that taught us a different size of what some other startups could be and could be like. So it's an issue for startups as well, because we look at it that we need to collaborate and improve, and so that we could position ourselves to compete globally. And also we also have to face the problem of credibility with other startups and look at how we can ensure that the solution that we are trying to provide is effective enough to meet our customers' demand. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's quite interesting. Evans, at least you now hear that it's a common thing for the small businesses to be taken out even in Nigeria by the big names. But what it sounds like is even American technology company started out as a startup today and they come to Africa within 6 months, they are likely to beat a company that has been operating in Kenya for 1 year. The American company is likely to just take up the market that the Kenyan company has been working at for like a year because it sounds like there is quite a big preference, or maybe they are maybe more appealing to the market than the small startups in the market are. So based on that, what I would ask then, Evans, is how do you think Africa is faring in the tech space? Do you think there is any chance that we will be able to meet solutions and provide solutions that are trustworthy within the continent, or how do you think African businesses are faring?
I think there are a couple of things that I would mention. The first one is capital asymmetry. So that just means like these companies that come from abroad, maybe they have a lot of VC, venture capital backed. They've raised money, and some of the money is a lot of money when they come to Kenya. Mm-hmm. It might not be as much money maybe in their currency, where they're coming from. Maybe if they raise $10 million, it might not be much in Silicon Valley. But when you come to Kenya, that's like 1 billion shillings, which is a lot of money here. And so if you're competing against such a company, they can do so many things which are legal. They can undercut you in prices. You can't compete in prices. Mm-hmm. So the only way you can compete with them is on the quality of the product and customer service. So one of the challenges that I think I have seen, I have noticed that there's a kind of a skills gap also at times within our African startups. And that also means that our competitive advantage that would have been there as a small company is also swept away or eroded because now you can't compete in capital and you can't compete in engineering strength. So how quickly you can build good products is also affected. Now you're facing a company that has a lot of money and they have very good engineers. And so if you can't match their skill and you can't match their capital, what do you have to offer to the market? You can't offer to the market that you're an African startup. So apart from that, also we find that when we have tried to replicate Silicon Valley elsewhere in the world, mostly it has failed because what makes Silicon Valley is not just the availability of cash. It's not the tennis places that people play. It's not the things that people think Silicon Valley is known for. It's not the weird people and all that kind of stuff that people think like geeks are like this or like that. There are people who don't talk to people. You know all those things that we see on movies, right? I think what has made Silicon Valley great is they're helping each other out, like collaboration, a strong sense of collaboration where you find startups helping other startups, people helping each other grow. And I think that is something that is not so much in Kenya. So you'd find maybe we are almost in the same space. Maybe I'm in finance and you're in agriculture. We might not see each other like as complementary services, but we think it's a zero-sum game where startups some have to fail, some have to succeed. Okay. But just that is not there. We've seen companies like Intel and many others being helped by people from other places, helping them with their hard problems. And I think that is one thing that I would really like to see cultivated in Africa. Even the culture of open source is very strong abroad, probably more than here in terms of our contributions to core open source packages. We find that when we are contributing, we're just individual contributors. We don't find a lot of open source software that is backed by companies that are actually run from Africa. There are big companies in Africa which would have invested in these open source solutions, trying to help other companies to build up their work and just grow. And so it becomes like a snowball effect, I would say, that as these companies help each other, they become bigger and bigger and bigger and stronger. And when they come to us, we can't compete with them.
It's almost as if there is them working together and building like the platforms, despite the fact that they are alternatives to each other, so that Facebook might look at Twitter as though they were their competitors, or that Facebook users have Twitter as an alternative, but they actually work together. Do you think that if African countries opened up their markets to each other, so that now even you're free to go set up in Ghana or to go set up in Ghana and work with the people in Ghana. Do you think that might be one of the solutions that you'd be looking for, like in what you're saying? In Kenya, maybe someone might think, or in Nigeria, someone might think that you are a competitor to them locally, but surely within Africa, if maybe Uganda opened up to you, there might be someone you'd be able to collaborate with. Do you think maybe that's something that someone could look at as a possible solution if the African Union free trade area took effect and you actually could move across borders and work from there? Do you think that's something that might help, might be a solution?
Yes, I think that should partly be a solution in the sense that now that free movement. But then I think there's the other part which also needs to happen, which is the cultural part. Like people actually want to help each other.
That's true.
Without yeah, I think that's the biggest barrier. Especially with our current world, in our current world, I don't need to go to Ghana to help a Ghanaian. I can offer mentorship, I can offer my support without actually being there. The African Trade Union, like African Union doing the free trade area, I think that would help in terms of mobility of people.
Yeah.
And yes, we know that probably as people move countries and do a lot of immigration, we get some of the very bright people coming together where the tech scene would probably be vibrant. And so it helps also build like hubs around places where people would want to work in. So if I realize that there's a very good tech startup scene in Algeria, for example, I'd be willing to go there. But if there's the immigration to that place is hard, then probably I wouldn't just even try. Just stay in Kenya and hack away.
Makes sense.
The things that I would want.
Makes sense. And to him, I wonder, is it, what Evans was saying, like on this, if someone from Europe came and set up in Kenya, for instance, or Nigeria or Tanzania, and then what they bring is like top-notch engineers who you can't even compete sometimes with the skills. In Nigeria, what skill level of, especially in the technology side, is it like competitive in the world skill kind of thing, or what does it look like in Nigeria?
I'm not sure Nigerian skill set can compete with foreign skill sets. In some areas, yes, we can try to compete, but like a friend of mine would say, our challenges is national and our competition is global. So there's a lot of challenges that is being faced not only in Nigeria but Sub-Saharan Africa as a whole that is hindering the skill set or hindering the development of skill sets in Sub-Saharan Africa as a whole. Like take Nigeria as a case study where we have little access to good electricity, little access to good road network, little access to the internet facilities might not be as strong and top-notch as other countries. So, and the educational system as well, it's currently outdated. So these are gaps that limit the skills of our engineers in Nigeria here to develop good products and good systems. Many of the engineers that develop good products and good systems not only acquire their skills in Nigeria here, but they also look for ways to acquire more knowledge outside Nigeria and out in the world at large. And thanks to the technology, and they could actually use digital device to learn some of this technology even abroad from their local. But competing with international skill sets might not be really the case. When you also look at the startup ecosystem in terms of skills of raising funds and also positioning themselves for investment readiness to scale up their solution, you can also compete with that because the Olympic environment is not also there to push that. Evans was also talking about access to finance for small businesses and startups. We look at it in Nigeria today, it takes about 401 days to raise investment in Nigeria compared to our counterparts in the Europe or in UK or in other continents or in the world at large who raise their funding in less than 3 months. So, and in the space of that is over 1 year to raise funding in Africa or Sub-Saharan Africa, in Nigeria as a whole. And within that period, a startup could have just died. So it takes less than 6 months for a startup or a year for a startup to meet its mortality if not properly funded or if they run out of cash. So these are constraints that are being faced currently in Nigeria for us to compete globally in terms of skill. And I think one of the ways at which we can reshape this is to change the educational system and orientation of youth, not only of youth and the upcoming generation in that regard, which is backed on rote learning and information in Nigeria here currently. And I think that system of education is outdated. Why would I need to ask why would I need to memorize information and lots of information where I can just ask Google, what is this, what is that? What I need to do is to develop my creativity, my innovation, and to develop my necessary skill that is needed for me to build a product or to build what I'm supposed to build.
Yeah.
So I think one of the ways that we can change that narrative in Nigeria is to rethink the educational structure and educational system. Can't compare the educational structure with that of third world countries as well. So it's a huge gap. So we've seen a lot of non-governmental organizations and civil liberty societies come up and start to do things around upskilling of people and engineers of product. We have Utiva here who is teaching startups on how to ensure that they're able to integrate digital solutions into their businesses and also use with the help of data and analytics, IoT, and AI to ensure that they are able to scale their solution and also build more sustainable solutions for their organizations. So these are organizations who are reshaping the way educational system is being done, not only for startups but also for youth in different localities. So they are positioning this youth for different opportunities and making them compete globally, even if they are here learning these skills locally. So I think for Africa, it's still a gap that we need to fill, and I think it gives more room for other solutions to come on board to help fill that position. And I think it's a partnership between the government. We shouldn't leave everything just to the government alone because they might not be able to solve all our problems. We should try and civil liberty society should also come in play, non-governmental societies, even private sector can also play to help upskill the African youth to ensure that they are able to compete globally and also provide solutions to some of the infrastructural problems that we are facing that is hindering us from upskilling and competing globally. Like in Nigeria now, we discovered that it's not the electricity has been it's not handled by the government anymore. It is being handled by a private sector in partnership with the government. It is a private public partnership, which has also enhanced and improved electricity that people have access to today to a more bearable situation. And also, we should see other community. I think government also has the role to play to partner with this more private sector to ensure that people have access to communication because once you go to rural communities, we are in the metropolitan city. People who are in the rural communities do not have access to some of this very good internet, very good communication network. And I think the government has a role to play in reducing the tax levied on private sector who are developing rural communities in terms of communication, in terms of infrastructure. Okay. So this, in a way, also helps users, also help youth access technological service that can also help improve and upskill them to compete globally. We now live in a global world. You can learn anything from anywhere you are in the world. So it's the access to skills also bank on the access to infrastructure that is at the disposal of any economy.
Okay. You've said quite interesting things, especially like the education system. Like I would note, like the Kenyan education system right now, it's trying to transition and do what you're suggesting, a bit more of the skill-based kind of training, where they're doing a competency-based kind of curriculum, where you're not really being taught so much on memorizing what you're saying, on memorizing things, but you're really being taught to work on your skills, which I think you're right that moving into that is really a thing that could change the kind of skill set. And also what you say about like you can learn right now, you can learn from anywhere. You can learn how to code or how to develop websites, how to do that kind of thing from anywhere. Like you really can get that skill. You don't have to get it from Nigeria. You can learn it online and actually improve your skills, which also makes me ask about like cross sharing ideas on innovation or cross having like a think tank where you can always go and draw on people for ideas. Like for instance, one of the things you find like China is really good at is that they have established think tanks. I would like to hear to him like, is there like such a kind of environment in Nigeria?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. It's pertinent that we have think tanks in every economy, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, because this is the center of the youth when it comes to population. And as you all know, youth are very creative, they are very innovative, and they are very energetic. So it is necessary that we have think tanks. But do we have it currently, or how is the situation like? is a very tough question because you have to also put into play the cultural differences that we have
That's true.
in Africa as a whole. We have a lot of cultural differences that is hindering the effectiveness of this of ideas exchange. Like Evans has said, is we need to collaborate more with each other, and are people willing to collaborate more with each other to make this happen? We have there's an example of a micro tractor who is giving less than about $25,000 to startups to test their idea. That is micro traction, who is giving about $25,000 to small businesses to test their idea and also put them through the startup process and ensure that they are able to grow their businesses even from the scratch. But are these being effective? Are they really effective? How many startups have gone through this process? Not many startups have gone through this process, and not many startups have been able to use this solution to iterate because number one, they are very competitive, and number two, they are very selective as well. I think there should be a more encompassing solution that gives every startup the ability not even to finance alone, but also to knowledge that would enable them to scale their solution even if they don't have access to the finance at the moment. They can always do that by themselves. So like while we were starting our organization, we had no access to think tanks who would help us best this idea, who would help us best this thing. We learned everything via experience and via the process. We learned on the process, we learned on the go. It was when we was after 6 months that we had an international organization which was not even in Nigeria that helped us out to through an accelerator program that put us through investment readiness, that put us through gave us some funds to iterate the product and to scale the product to a little stage where it is currently. So for the Nigerian startup ecosystem, it's not been really effective because of the cultural differences that we are facing in different aspects of the economy. And I think it is something we need to develop going forward and something we need to look into because another thing we Nigerians have in our culture is the cultural bias. Many Nigerians are not trusting the system to be able to make effective decisions that oh, we are if we sincerely give our best to this application or if we interestingly apply to this, we are going to get selected. And many think the system has been rigged because they believe their solution has a higher chance and they see the selected solutions and that's not really as effective as them and being selected in many of these situations and they feel like there has been a bias in the cultural system. Like federal government released the application for still small businesses in collaboration with EDC, that is Enterprise Development Center. So at the end of the day, we passed through the whole process. We did the courses, we did everything, and at the end of the day, we didn't get selected. That was not the problem. But the problem is that those that get selected had to protest with the government to access the resources that they said they are going to give them. So this is the problem that we face. This is a trust issue. Now the government comes up with another solution that come and apply for this. It used to be like the last time we applied for this test and we did not still get what we're supposed to get, the resources that are supposed to help us scale our solution.
Yeah.
This is a problem that many startups face in Nigerian ecosystem. And I think there are some private equity firms currently that are coming into Nigeria. Many of them are not coming and are not Nigerian owned. It's very little that are Nigerian owned, but many of them are foreign companies who are coming into Nigeria to help startups in this ecosystem. We have the Orange Corner from Faith Foundation, which is from the Netherlands. We have the GIZ program, which is also from the Netherlands. We also have the AgriAct, which is also from the Netherlands. We have a lot of them, but many of them are not solely Nigerian companies that solely Nigerians who are promoting the startup ecosystem. We also have some from the British Council, which is not also Nigerian. Many of the companies, many of these VCs and ecosystem promoting inclusiveness and what have you are not mainly Nigerian companies. So we need to improve on that as Africans and as Nigerians to ensure that we are able to build this ecosystem to sustain ourselves.
Okay. Understand. I hear you. And the question I was asking about getting ideas, well, quite something maybe to think about, not something that's a reality. Even if you could maybe speak about opportunities that exist in the Kenyan market that you would, like speak and say that someone can surely do this and pursue this and this as options for startups in Kenya? What would those be? What kind of skills would they need to have? How would they go about exploring those opportunities, making them a reality? Yeah.
I think that the opportunities that lie in Kenya, I would categorize them as predominantly solutions that seek to solve problems for most small businesses. I think that's one point that that people should probably focus more on. A lot of businesses still are very unstructured, don't have good bookkeeping software or even just the bookkeeping principles. And because of the way businesses are run in Africa or in Kenya, it would be very, very beneficial if somebody could make a lot of this work way, way easier for them. One of the hardest things also at times is selling to individual consumers. Most individual consumers might not be willing to pay like monthly subscriptions if it's a software as a service kind of business.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so the opportunities that lends itself, especially in Kenya and Africa, is because there's still, I could say, a lot of quote unquote chaos in the market.
Okay.
Uh, there are not so many streamlined processes either within government or just the day-to-day running of things. And because of this chaos, some of the most successful ideas come from trying to make order out of this chaos. It might not be just solving the chaos itself, but trying to solve a pain point in this. Well, one of the good examples is on-demand taxis like Uber in
Mm-hmm.
Kenya. We have Little Cab, we have Taxify,
Mm-hmm.
and many others in Kenya, which are doing relatively well. And that would be because our public transport is not very good. People want transport solutions, so that's a very good place to disrupt. And so just trying to think broadly in terms of, I would not say go invest in X, Y, and Z thing and it will give you returns,
Okay.
but think about like what what are the problems that small businesses tend to face?
Uh-huh.
Because if you find small businesses and talk to them and hear their problems, if they're mostly similar and you can find solutions to those ones, then assuredly you'll make a dent in the market, and that gives you a very big advantage as a fast mover, in the sense that most big companies will not be going for that market.
Yeah.
Most of them will be going for more established companies,
Okay.
uh, going to a more exclusive market, I would say. So if you want to make it and make it real well, talk to small businesses. These are the people who run most of the businesses in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can find a solution that solves their problems, then you're in business. Another thing is that you have to ensure that you satisfy their needs and fix their pains. Once you've done that, the biggest advertisement you will get is word of mouth. I remember when we had this mobile money service that came, M-Pesa. I remember 2010 when it started, and the person who introduced me to M-Pesa was like, "Oh, this thing is cool and this and this and that, and I can send you money." And that word of mouth at times does more than just advertisements on billboards and all that. Because
Yeah.
if as a small business owner, I can tell another small business owner,
Mm-hmm.
I've been having bookkeeping challenges, but
Mm-hmm.
now I don't have to struggle when I'm doing my tax returns.
Mm-hmm.
I just do this, and this software generates for me all my accounting needs, and I just need to maybe submit them to the taxman. And
Okay.
that really would be a very good thing to ride on, because as people talk more and more positively about your software, these are clients that you can't lose. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is one big area of opportunity, small businesses. But then how do we get to them? You can't get to them by probably reading about them in the news. You have to go and talk to them, sit with them, see how they work. At times they don't even know they have a problem. At times it involves you just going and watching how they're working, looking at the places of inefficiencies and optimizing the pain points, the major places where they'll see a very huge impact. And so it would involve just going out of your way, going out of your programming or engineering mind, and sitting down, spending a day or two or a couple of days just observing how some small businesses are run, might be in a specific niche or just random, and see what are some of the challenges they face. How do they handle their customers? How do they do their money transactions? How do they record them? How do they do customer support and service? And all those things, and trying to find little affordances where you can enter and help them very easily. So that is what I would say in terms of the opportunities that abound.
Okay, that's very helpful, Evans, because it points on the target. You have like a target which is like the small businessman, something that someone once said. So for those who are not Kenyans, will not know what industrial area in Kenya is like, but it's like the industrial area of Kenya in Nairobi, but it's very small businesses which are in a small place, which is the industrial area. And someone once said that if you can go there and find the small businesses and have like 10 of them, you really do well for your business. And I think that's true because you find that it's a solution that is common to many people that will eventually get the business up. But Evans, also, if you may briefly like mention, like what is the take up in Kenya for opportunities like for mentoring, that they are someone who is looking to pursue such an opportunity? Is that an option? How does that look like? Or is it more that you have to, like what Tuhib was saying, that you have to learn by yourself? You have to learn the ropes by yourself, or what does it look like?
I'll give a couple of suggestions. One, the first one is that mentorship in our current world probably might mean more than a more local kind of thing. I remember how I learned a lot of computer programming and software development. I was looking up to people that I wanted to be like, people who are luminaries in the technology space, looking at how they code, reading their blogs regularly, trying to see what they were doing. And so I kind of found, without them knowing that I was following them, I kind of was their mentee. So you can find mentorship opportunities just by trying to follow specific people who are doing the things that you like. If you're in the machine learning space, who are the thought leaders in the machine learning space? Follow them on Twitter, read their blogs, and see what the cool things they're doing, and try to replicate that. One of the things that I found interesting is that some of these people are very responsive and they give answers and help people.
Yeah.
I remember reaching out to people on Twitter, people who I thought were way super busy. Yes, they are busy, and who are too talented that they might not answer somebody like me. I messaged them on Twitter and we had conversations and they helped me with my challenges. So at times it just takes that bold step of reaching out to people, sending them tweet or email, whatever you can, and just asking them for specific help, telling them what you've done, what is not working, and what you'd want help with specifically, because you want also to be respectful of their time. So that is one, just going beyond your space and looking to like the whole world as a possible mentors. And that is very great, especially on Twitter now. People who you look up to are almost on Twitter every day, and you can grab their attention. And not only them, but many others who probably are like them. So, out where these people hang out, it may be Twitter. If you are using a specific technology, if they have a Slack channel, hang out there, ask your questions. If they are using Discourse, hang in on their Discourse. If they are on IRC, probably try joining some of those things. That is one thing. Another one is I talked about you seeking like mentorship from everywhere in the world. But now I want to flip it and talk about instead of seeking opportunity mentorship opportunities, think of how you can mentor others. Because at every step of your journey, you are always at least one step ahead of someone else who is starting. And if you can help other people get to the level where you are, and other people also try to help you, I think we'll build that community of people who mentor each other. And that has to start from somewhere. And that probably is, rather than me waiting for people to mentor me, it's taking that bold step and starting to mentor others. And how does that play out? At times, it's not the most knowledgeable people become successful mentors. The people who are brave, who go out there and start helping other people. And as you help others, you realize that, oh, I don't know this, and I need to read up on this and learn X, Y, Z. This is how people become better and better in the work that they do. So you might not be the very best at what you do, but you're definitely better than someone. Go seek them out and try to help them. Help them avoid the mistakes that you made. Show them the better path. And I think that really, one, it changes the general culture around helping and mentorship, but it also helps you learn. I want to give a shameless plug here. I think one of the things that really touched me was having learned software engineering the hard way, like some of the best practices. I was like, I wouldn't want people who are also learning to program to go through the same hurdles, face the same challenges, while we could give them an easier path so that they can focus on the things that they really need to focus on. We can't be having every generation of developers always making the same mistakes and facing the same challenges that we faced and overcame. So we should give back to the society this kind of knowledge that is within us and help them navigate through this murky waters and just drive them to the right path, lead them to the right resources, give them the right mentorship. And so, as part of that, this year in May, I officially began some mentorship program. It's called Journey on Code, where we take people who've never done any software engineering. You don't have to have had any programming experience. So we teach you the very basics of computing for free, from how to write code and all that. And our hope is that these people can do like full stack software development. So giving them skills which they can use, like not just teaching them also software engineering, but teaching them the very best practices, teaching them where they can go for resources, giving them the best ways of writing code, and also just the right attitude. What makes a good engineer? Helping them to learn all those things. So we initially started with one class, a day class, 12 to 1 p.m. Kenyan time, and then because of interest, we also started another class in the evening. So we have two classes now, and I'm really encouraged by the students. Most of them had never written any line of code, but I can see a very positive leap. Uh, Actually, it's more astounding than what I'd expected. They're writing code that looks very professional, and the way they reason about code is very interesting. And some of them we've just, especially for the evening class, I think we are now like 3 weeks into the program, and they're already writing super good code, and that's really encouraging. So people like them, us passing that information to them, and them also hopefully mentoring others. And the advantage of this is that they don't have to pay anything. They just have to show up in class and be mentored. That is one of the things we do at a very small scale, and hopefully we can scale it across the country and probably very many other places as opportunities arise.
Okay, Evans, that's very helpful. And anyone, I'm sure that Evans, you'd be able to help anyone who wants to learn a bit more about coding if they can join in when you're having any online classes. And anyone on the call who wants to reach out and have a chat more with Evans, we will help that done. To him, if you could also like mention like what opportunities would you say exist in the Nigerian market, and also about the mentorship kind of thing, what how would someone go about it, and if you could just tell us a bit about that as we close.
I have mentioned earlier that there are many use cases of technology in Nigeria, from logistics to supply chain management to communications and even data and analytics. And I think many of these use cases, there are still lots of loopholes in it because, as Evan said, he has some anecdotal data. That is, that is African and Sub-Saharan Africa. We have little or no access to data and information in as a whole. So this is an opportunity for youth and for entrepreneurs to go into that use case and also help develop the sector as a whole. And you discover that even with the pandemic now, there is more need for logistics, and there's a whole lot of logistics going on and helping to solve the problem of access to final goods and even consumer goods. So there will be need for more logistics companies, more logistics solutions going forward. Because after this pandemic, or in the course of we living with this pandemic, there will be need for more logistics solutions to help us navigate the situation that we are in currently, because the behavioral pattern of people will remain the same. People will still be skeptical of shaking hands, they'll still be social distancing and the like, because the behavioral pattern has changed. So there will be more need for logistics company because people will stay at home more and they would want to order goods more from home and the like. And also there will be more need for other consumer goods and to ensure that people are able to get access to more goods like we have in this current pandemic. And another solution that we can look into is access to finance. We can look at solutions that are bridging the gap for access to finance. Another use case of solutions such as the FMCG solutions, such as the digital analysis or data analysis solution. If a startup can have access to crowdfund to develop their startup from idea staging to scale up, it is going to be great. There are lots of opportunities in the finance use case and also in the supply management use case. So I believe it's up to the youth and entrepreneur to be creative and to look into different use cases and to spot the problems in those use cases and where they can provide solutions to any problem at their disposal using technology as a leverage to do this. And one thing I would like you to take away is that technology is not the product, it's just an enabler to different services. Different services that we have to do, it should be customer centric, and technology is just to enable that to ensure customers have a right access to the resources and the access to goods and services that they require to lead on their daily lives, even if it's in the healthcare, in any other sector. It is an enabler. It is not to eradicate the people in the sector. We should have that at the back of our mind and build solutions that are customer centric. That's that in that regard. And for me, regarding the mentorship, I think one thing that helped us create the solution very fast and very quick in this regard was the accelerator program we had to go through, and the fact that, like Evan said, he looked up to people that are very far away and he learned from them. I also did the same. I read books. I pick mentors from books. I pick mentors from watching startup movies and learning from those startup movies and iterating and looking at my environment and putting them into practice with putting into consideration the culture of my environment and the economy that I live in. I put that into perspective and learn from movies and then deploy that down on the ground here. So it helped me a lot, like a distant mentorship. That helped me a lot. And also, we also had the help of a legal advisor who helped us put the corporate governance structure in place to help us position ourselves for investors and investment readiness. So this you cannot overemphasize the help of mentorship. And I think in my own little way, when I was starting, I was looking for someone to hold me by the hand and tell me the exact step-to-step process that I was going to take to build my startup, but I could not get. But I picked up the skill here and there from different mentorship class and different mentorship aspects, such as reading books, watching movies, like I said, and getting a legal advisor to help in that regard. And the accelerator program also helped. So for me, I've also looked at it that at my own disposal, I'm going to hold somebody's hand and tell them the step-by-step process to help build a startup or to build a solution from idea stage into a startup stage. So with this, I've been given a lot of mentorship program via the Indigo Africa mentorship program. We did a series last week that has to do with access to finance for smallholders, for SMEs, and also I was one of the founders of KLCI, that is Child Leadership and Career Academy, that teaches youth in underserved communities how to forge careers and how to position themselves for leadership opportunities in their communities. And we do this via career trainings, leadership trainings, and entrepreneurship training. I spearhead the entrepreneurship stream of that particular program in underserved communities in the region where we serve. And we are helping youth navigate and build them and give them the entrepreneurship skills that they require right from their high school stage. Because we discovered that there was a loophole in the educational system, and the earlier we start to bridge that loophole for the coming generation, the better it is for us and the better it is for the African society as a whole. So we started this about 3 years ago, and we've reached out to over 3,000 students in underserved communities in over 25 schools, and we are still counting till date. We scaled up. We started as a 3-man team who are doing this, but we have over 90 volunteers who are currently spearheading the project in over 4 states now, currently in Nigeria. So sometimes I literally just delegate many of these activities to others who have also mentored to start up their businesses to go and take out this entrepreneurship while I also do this on the side. So I'm open to mentorship from anybody who wants to scale up, who wants to start up a business or an organization or build a startup from the scratch, from idea stage into a startup stage. So I do this on the side while I also run the organization as well. So it's nice to see that we are building an ecosystem that to ensure that Africans are able to develop Africa themselves, not relying on foreigners to help develop the African economy, because at the end of the day, many of them still have their have. So it's pertinent for every African country and every African economy, and even sub-Saharan Africa and Africa as a whole, to look inward, because we have a vibrant youth. We have they are very creative, they are innovative, and they are energetic. And in this regard, they are able to build solutions that is going to build the African that we dream of, and the Africans that we want, and the Africa that we want to see. So the earlier we start positioning youth for this change, and the better it is for us. And the only way we can do this is via mentorship and sponsorship of this youth in different economies. So in my only two way, even if I look up to other mentors, I also in my only two way contribute to helping other youth grow in technopreneurship and entrepreneurship as a whole. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for what you've shared. And there's so much more we could speak about, like the fourth industrial revolution that's happening, the robotics, is Africa close to it? Will even what opportunities are there? But I would honestly say that I think for Africa, if we are honest, we should maybe be trying to solve the smaller problems that are still ailing us as a continent with the technology. Like what you're saying, that technology is a means to offer service. It's not an end in itself, but it's a means that you can use to come up with a solution that actually helps the community. And is there an end to how much the community needs help? No, there's no end. It's just always going to be something, a need that the society has, and technology can offer the solution. And now it now takes people who can offer those solutions to the society as a whole, and through all this mentorship that's happening, I think opportunities really exist. It's just to really step out of your comfort, to either tweet someone, to follow them, to like read a bit more about these startups and how it's done. And I think there's potential for so much that you can do with this. I will ask for a final closing remark from Evans. Like, Evans, if you had a platform to say something to people from many different backgrounds who are interested in this kind of thing, what is it that you'd say to them? And to him, you can also now also say like your concluding remarks, and then we will call it a conversation.
What I would say is that whoever is thinking probably stepping either into entrepreneurship or even tech, I think the best thing that I would tell you is just to go ahead and start. One of the things that we have usually is this imposter syndrome, where you always feel like you're incapable, you don't have the enough requisite skills to even start doing something. You feel like you can't even start learning coding or things like that. I think the best thing that you can do for yourself is just go ahead and start. Start with whatever resources you have now. And people at times underestimate their potential or even their skill levels. Yes, there are people who are probably who overestimate themselves. But for most people, we usually think of ourselves as not measuring up, not being like good enough to even maybe develop an like some piece of software or something. And just from the mentorship program, I've been able to see people who are scared to write even anything about programming, who are actually now doing programming now. Like they know they can program, they can reason about code. And so the greatest barrier might not be finance, might not be the lack of opportunities to share and all these things. The greatest barrier is probably in your mind. Just start whatever you can, however you can. Reach out to people who you think can help you. Don't be discouraged. Go ahead and start doing something. If you feel like you need to mentor people, go ahead, mentor them. If you feel like you need to learn how to run a business, go ahead and run. There's so many places where you can get skills and virtual mentorship and grow yourself into the kind of person that you'd want to be. So don't be afraid. You're probably better than you think you are, and probably all that you need is whatever knowledge that you have. And that is probably more than enough to push you to the next level. And some of these things you become better by doing. You don't become a better software developer by reading many books and watching videos like at times I used to do. And yes, there's a place for that. But the more you write code, the more you realize, this is the problem. These are the things that I need to change. And even in running a business, there are things that you'll meet in your day-to-day running of a business that maybe no textbook can teach you. And so the best way to start is by starting.
To him.
Yeah, thank you. As Evans has talked about starting, so what I would say is if you start, don't forget the use of leverage. Like I used to tell my people, don't buy what you can rent, don't rent what you can borrow, and don't borrow what you can get for free. One of my strongest skill is leveraging. If you are able to leverage effectively, you'll be able to cut costs in every area at which you want to, in most of the areas at which you want to carry out activities. This is one skill that has helped me in the course of building my business. And for me, I don't see resources as a barrier. I don't see finance as a barrier. I see it as an enabler to get my activities done. And if I cannot get my activities done with that enabler, I can use definitely other enablers to get activities done. So don't think that you don't have enough finance. Don't think you don't have enough resources. Don't think you don't have enough to develop what you want to develop. There are people around you. There are network around you. There are resources around you that you can leverage to get things done. And before you carry out activity with any funding startup because you don't have enough access to resources, think of the way you can leverage. And in this regard, you're going to be able to develop your business as you go. And also take a challenge at a time. Don't solve many challenges together because for me, it's what helped me during the starting phase of our organization. It's for us to carry out one activity at the other. We place them in terms of priority and we say what is the next priority to achieve. Then we look for ways to achieve that challenge. And from that, we scale up with little by little and we move on to where we are today. So I think one thing you like to take away from this thing is if you are to start any solution, ensure you carry out market research to ensure that you are trying to prefer solutions to the right problems. And if you are preparing solutions to the right problems, what you want to ask yourself is, are the consumers willing to pay for the solution to that problem? So this one key question we should always ask ourselves regarding any solution we're trying to build. Are the consumers willing to pay for this solution to solve any problem? Well, it's not necessarily you actually make revenue from any solution you are trying to build, depending on what kind of organization you are trying to build. It might be an NGO or any aspect, just for to solve a vital problem anyway. But if you're looking to build a startup that is going to be getting revenue, you need to ask yourself that question at inception so that you can ensure you are able to make revenue. So like I'll repeat again, don't buy what you can rent, don't rent what you can borrow, and don't borrow what you can get for free. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tahib. Note to remember. And thank you so much, everyone who has made it. But thank you so much, Ivan, for offering your time to do this. And Tahib, much appreciated. And for everyone who has stayed through this call, listening in, I hope you've learned something. And I hope that you will be able to apply the things that have been said, which are very beneficial. And we are hoping to have many more of these discussions, and especially things that have to do with business. And we have different perspectives from Africa. And next week, we'll be discussing about the tax measures that have been taken in Liberia, in Kenya, and in Zambia to deal with COVID-19 and how businesses are coping with that and how that is working out for business. In future, we hope to have a more relevant conversation. So if you could go to our website and suggest a topic that you'd want covered, you'll find panelists who are able to speak on the topics. But thank you so much. I know on the call and on the webinar, there are people from a number of different countries. And thank you so much, people, for making the time to join this call. And I would love to say thank you and say goodbye.